While we have this time, this short break here, uh, hmm, I need to get my mic working. Yeah, while we have a bit of time here and reorganize to finish the show here, I want to tell you about Legacy Alarms. Legacy Alarms is an alarm company, a new company started by people that work for ADT and Guardian and other alarm companies, but now they've decided to go local and they offer the same quality and service as the big boys, but they're local. So I'm all for supporting local. So if you get a chance, check out Legacy Alarms, full alarm protection. Call 918-922-1010. 918-922-1010. Okay? Take care. And we're waiting for Dave to come back now so we can continue with the part 2 of Fresh Black Coffee on this Saturday, the last Saturday in the month of June. Can you believe it, how fast the time has gone by? It's kind of crazy, isn't it? So anyway, we'll be right back with more and some current news and events and so forth. All right. Oh, how funny. All right. Sorry, I understand we lost our video feed for a while. But anyway, we are back, or black, if you want to want to call it that. Hey, yeah, Dave. Dave was just telling me how incredibly exciting and just, I don't know, knowledge giving that was that hour with Jim Bridenstine. I mean, it's got me excited. There's so many things going on that I had no clue. And I'm sure most of you, if any of you, knew everything that's going on in the area of space and technology. And what's really exciting is that because of his background now, he can bring a lot of this to Oklahoma. And to Tulsa in particular. The only thing that bothers me is I think the wrong mayor may get credit for it. Sorry, Monroe, but you're not feeding the palate as we would like.
You know what the best news I got out of it?
What is that?
Is we actually went to the moon.
Oh.
Sorry, Joe Rogan, but no, he answered the one thing that bothered me that I didn't totally understand was the Van Allen radiation belt.
Right. That's just a rehash. A lot of people feel that we've not really been to the moon before because of the Van Allen radiation belt, that it is actually what has been preventing any basically living thing from going through it. And
yeah,
but he put that to rest with his explanation.
Yeah, he said you just go through it really fast.
Yeah.
And I like how he likened it. Like, I was at the dentist this week and they did x-rays, and the lady, when she gets ready to do it, goes behind this wall that has lead in it. And then she's also wearing this lead apron, this heavy apron,
and
right?
They put a lead apron on you.
Well, they don't do that anymore. The radiation's so low, they don't put the aprons on.
But she's still going behind the wall?
Yeah. The difference is I'm not taking x-rays 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Right.
She is.
Yeah.
She's living in that environment, so she's got a greater danger.
Right.
Thus, more prevention is warranted. For somebody that gets an x-ray once every 3 or 4 years.
Right. A recent dentist I had, they were using like a smaller x-ray gun.
Yeah.
And they walk around with it. But after 4 x-rays, I said, nah, that's enough. But I haven't. No, yes, you have. You finished. Do not put that thing in my face again, or I will shove it up your butt. I mean, sometimes you have to just speak to him like a man, you know. but I mean, these young girls just wanted to take all, you know, and then the insurance companies are only going to pay for 2 anyway. So then you know, so no, if you didn't get it with that, I'm sorry, it's on you. But anyway, yeah. But no, you're right. That explains something. But it's funny that's the biggest thing you got out of it, the best thing you got out of it.
No, I say that more as a joke, but it was, you brought up the subject, you know, did we really go to the moon?
Yeah.
And because there are a lot of, I know that there's man-made stuff that we put up there.
Right.
The only questions left is, did humans go up there as well?
Right.
And and that's why the Van Allen thing, that only affects humans, doesn't affect the hardware.
Right.
So anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that got me, I wasn't aware that China has still been going to the moon and sending things to the moon. I wasn't aware of that. Were you aware of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that I heard of one. They landed, they chose the other side.
But he made it sound like they were a lot farther ahead in their moon launchings and travel than I ever thought.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised. Now, Russia, I could have, but when he says China has been to the moon, what, 5 times or however many times?
I wanted to ask him about Russia actually went to Venus a couple of times.
Are you serious?
Their spacecraft lasted 45 seconds. It got burnt up both times.
Trying to enter the atmosphere.
No, actually landing. But it was 900-degree heat they were landing in.
Oh.
And so they actually had some communication they were able to get for less than a minute. It burnt up, but it was still...
Is there a dark side of Venus?
I don't know. But it was still a huge accomplishment. We didn't find out about it because they kept it secret.
Yeah, you know what's funny about that is, as you were saying that, I was thinking Venus, how is it? And then I remember Mercury, Venus, Earth. So they are that much closer to the sun than we are.
Yeah.
And that's why, it would be that much hotter.
See, you and I read C.S. Lewis Paralandra, and we just get this image.
Journey to Venus,
like that.
Journey to Mars, right.
But I have to say that about,
So Mars is a lot, the problem, it's an opposite problem with Mars because Mars, it's a cold situation versus the heat.
A lot colder than C.S. Lewis.
Well, according to, Lewis, we did fine on both planets.
It was a fun book series.
Great. I mean, it wasn't really about space travel to Mars or Venus. He just used those, but those are 3 with that hideous strength, the last one. But between those 3 books, to me, some of the greatest work that Lewis ever did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
The 2 deal with how the devil is and so forth. And then how creation, if you Well, let me just tell you. So, Journey to Venus is the one, or Paralandra is the original name, Paralandra, but basically it's Venus. Yeah.
Okay.
Mars was the first one.
Well, that was first called Out of the Silent Planet.
Out of the Silent Planet, but that was Mars. And then Paralandra was the Journey to Venus.
Yeah.
They've renamed both.
Oh, gotcha.
They've renamed the books. Yeah. So, but anyway, it deals with another Earth, basically, a creation with Adam and Eve on that planet Paralandra. And this guy Ransom, the main character, he ends up going there, and he confronts Satan, and Satan is trying to tempt the Eve of Venus and get her to sin, to create the same fall as man on Earth, but mankind on Earth. But still today, what I'm amazed at is how C.S. Lewis was able to depict how the devil, that conversation between it is just the freakiest thing. You just sit there and it just,
Right. And then he gets even more when you go to the Screw Tape Letters. Right. How the devil thinks, how he corrupts.
Right. But as far as that one, it's a little easier because Screw Tape is a little, it gets more theological and more into that. But this puts it in a real sense.
Imagine if Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden had some character like Ransom to answer the lies of the deceiver.
Right, exactly. And keep Eve from eating the apple and so forth. And the thing I always like to harp on, not harp on, but bring out, a lot of people misread, or it's been not translated, but passed on mistakenly. So, like, do you know why Eve, what did Eve say to the snake?
Oh, yeah, so we weren't supposed to touch it.
Exactly. That's what we've talked about that before. Most of us think about Eve eating the apple. And yes, she got Adam to then eat the apple. But when Satan asks Eve, what did God say? And she says, he told us not to touch the tree. Not to touch the tree.
And she had to take Adam's word for it.
Exactly. And so I came to the conclusion then, once I read that, it was like a bing, light went on. And I'll tell you where it came to me. I was in Uganda speaking to kids. And they're like the Baptist teachings or more Baptist philosophy. You can't dance, you can't drink, you can't do this, you can't do that. And then, to me, the sin is not in the dancing. The sin is not in the drinking. In the drinking, it's getting drunk. The Bible doesn't say, do not drink. It says, do not be drunk with wine.
Yep.
It does not say, don't dance. It says, don't lust. And so what I realized, and it popped up when I was reading there in Genesis, that what Adam did, he told her, don't touch that fruit, because he felt he put an extra layer an extra step between actual sin and not sin.
It was well-intentioned, though.
It was well-intentioned, exactly. And so we do the same thing.
Yes.
But what happens, it actually has a reverse effect, because as soon as you touch it, well, I've already sinned, I might as well eat it. And so in dancing, well, I've danced now, it's sin, I might as well go ahead and have sex. I've drunk this wine, I might as well go ahead and get drunk. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but if you really think about it and plan it out, that's what ends up happening. And we can do that with our children. That's why we have to be careful with our children not to put intermediate steps into the things we don't want them to do. Because what will happen, they will misstep on one of those steps that you put in between their sin against you. And then once they've done that, I've already done that. I might as well go ahead.
I had a great pastor, doctorate of theology, Dr. Dan Beller, was at Evangelistic Temple for decades. He said, we criticize these liberal churches for taking away from Scripture. Problem is, we more fundamentalists and evangelical tend to add to.
Eisegesis instead.
Yes, right. And Paul told Timothy, preach the things that become sound doctrine.
Right.
Because by adding to it, you're just making things of man as important as God's words. Jesus said, my words are spirit and they're life. And when you add to it, and this is why the beauty, again, back to C.S. Lewis writing his best work is Mere Christianity. Simple, without all the extra stuff.
Right.
And all the denominational stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's exactly right. And so we have to, that's why Martin Luther had a term called sola scriptura, means the scripture alone, only the scripture. Don't throw other stuff in it. Don't try to, make up your new rules, your own rules, your extra rules, or anything like that. Stick with what God said and live with that.
Yep.
And it's hard enough. That's hard enough for you to not throw a bunch of other stuff in there.
Yes.
It's just crazy.
You see, the only thing that can take us from space research to this topic is someone like Jim Bridenstine and C.S. Lewis.
Yes. Yeah. We've been able to merge the two.
There you go.
He led us into the space trilogy. But no, seriously, if you get a chance, order it on Amazon. It's called the C.S. Lewis Space Trilogy.
Yeah.
There are 3 books: Out of the Silent Planet, Journey to Venus, and That Hideous Strength, which is, to me, it's a prophetic book. We've talked about that before.
It's an end times book.
It's an end times book, and it's prophetic. And
but it's England centric.
How did he? Yeah, but what gets me is the way he was so able to predict where we would be today with education, teachers, and it's crazy. It's literally crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting. He shows that the educated are more easily duped than the more simple-minded.
Yeah.
The folks with common sense and rely on common sense rather than people that rely on their high intellectual attainment.
Right. And even what they were teaching is the thing, that he gets into, and how they're basically leading these people or children, particularly in this community, astray and teach. It's almost, it was a precursor to, what is the name of it? This Present Darkness.
Yes, by Frank Peretti.
Frank Peretti's book.
That came out in the early 80s, I think.
Yeah.
And then Piercing the Darkness becoming the sequel to it. Yeah, great books.
Exactly.
I was my daughter's an author my niece is a author for Bethany House, and she was doing some big thing on Christian rights, some big convention, and she runs into Frank Peretti, and she says, I just want you to know, you just traumatized my childhood. And Frank's, I'm sorry. He says, when I read Piercing this present darkness, I couldn't sleep for a week.
It's funny. I met him after he wrote the book. This was in Dallas. They had a Christian booksellers, CBA, and convention, and I'm there, and they were giving away the book.
Yeah,
they had like stacks of the book, but nobody knew who this guy was.
Wow.
And he's there, and he actually looks like a kind of like a hippie. He's from Oregon. It was from Oregon, and he's just a scruffy looking little hippie looking guy, and very interesting, but very nice. But anyway, I think I left with like 10 copies of this book, and I was giving them to people. I had my book, but
you've got one of his books right below you there. One of them. It's a different type.
I probably do.
You got a Frank Peretti book.
He's
written so
I've
many
written.
now.
Yeah, before him was Steve Lawhead, was the guy who I think he might have been on Bethany, but anyway, Peretti. He is an amazing right. He's kind of a C.S. Lewis type of thinker that he can take spiritual truths and put them into allegory or into story and flesh them out. You know, he's written numerous books since then. There's a new one, a new guy, Christian author. I cannot think of his name right now, but he's similar. He's a best-selling author, Christian author. Do you know any other contemporary? Does anybody come to your mind? I cannot think of his name right now, but I read all of his probably first 10 books, and then after a while, I mean, he would put a new one. I don't know how these people do it. I don't know how they do it, because he would have a new book every 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, and you read these things and they're so detailed and intricate, and they all follow and have characters and new characters. And then here comes a new one and a new one and a new one. Because his books, they all were at a different period, but they always came back to like in one. People travel back in history. You find a guy in New York, and next thing you know, he's back in the 13th century or something.
Yeah.
And then you got a futuristic one, and it goes back. It always relates back to the same thing. So but I cannot think of his name. Darn it! I'm sorry to even mention it to you. Okay, let's move on, Dave. How about some news? The bombing, the big thing I'm seeing right now is the second guessing on the damage we did to Iran's nuclear facilities.
Yeah, that was a thing early in the week.
No, it's still. I went on this morning, and there's still.
I think they just beat that horse out for all they're gonna.
They're trying. They keep on trying and trying and trying, and I think what adds to it is that Trump and then Pete Hegseth and others have come out doubling down on the damage we've done to the nuclear program. But then there's some like the Nuclear Energy Commission or some one of these groups saying, well, we don't think he really took out their nuclear. I mean,
and they would know this how?
Exactly. There's no.
It's just speculation.
It's total speculation.
Because even the report that started it all was classified as a low confidence. It was a speculation.
Right.
From satellite imagery.
Right.
I mean, my goodness. But Pete is going after him.
Yeah.
He turned on, what's her name? One of the Fox News reporters.
Probably the blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She used to be their Jerusalem correspondent, but he called her out before the election, right after post-election. Said she's one of the most liberal people at Fox.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's bad. She's bad news.
And so when Pete was at the White House this week with Trump doing a press conference, she asked a question of him, and he just says, and you are probably the worst. Yeah, I remember she did this
with CSA and MSNBC. CNN and
no, this was the Fox News.
No, I'm saying to say she's the worst.
Yeah,
is
that's pretty low.
Yeah, that's very low. But no, you're right, and it is interesting that Fox is one of the ones that keeps second guessing and questioning the efficacy of this the attack on the nuclear facilities. So it's. I don't know what the deal is with these people.
Jennifer Griffin, I think is her name.
Oh, yeah. She's got real short hair. She
used to have long hair.
Yeah, she left for a while.
She had cancer.
Right. But she went to CBS for a while.
Probably.
And
Griffin.
Right.
Griffin.
And then they fired her from CBS to bring her, and Fox picked her up again. And now she's, So, it's bad.
So, So to me, that's just not much of a story. I think, you know what?
Which is not much of a story.
Well, here's the deal. I think
the whole attack is not much of a story.
No, they're acting like Trump oversold this as though there will never be a threat again. And we all know that's not true.
No, even they
and Trump didn't say that is true, but they're trying to put those words in his mouth. And it is true. You will always have to be vigilant.
Yeah, well, but here's the deal. They're trying to make it sound like they can rebuild it within weeks. Are you serious? I mean, and then some months, but it'll be years. I mean, just think about it. Think of everything that it takes. First, they had to hollow out this underground bunker, put in all of it's like building a home and then furnishing it, to make it livable. Okay, with a nuclear facility, the time, effort, and money it takes to do something on that scale is just, let's put it this way, it's far reaching. Okay, it's hard to get there. They're making it sound, they're just gonna look, trucks. Somebody has a satellite picture of trucks lined up or something on the side. Like, they've loaded up their entire nuclear program into these 7 trucks, and they're gonna move it 100 miles, and they're gonna dig a new hole and set up or in a tent, and it's gonna be back to business as new.
But we can't tell whether they were loading or unloading, because it's very probable and very plausible that you'd want to put all your stuff in the most secure location you got, the one that they can't touch, or so they thought. Right.
But just in general, when you look at everything now, first there's a crater and there's some holes in the crater. Yeah. And if you actually go and listen to the people who dropped the bombs and those who know, the first bomb goes in, creates a hole, and the second one comes in right on top of that to break through that hole even deeper.
Except at Fordo, we didn't stop at 2. We dropped 6.
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing. That mountain will never be safe to dig into again. Never. Yeah. It is shattered to pieces. It is a pile of rubble.
Yeah.
It is not solid rock anymore.
and what Pete Hegseth is saying, that your aerial surveillance cannot even see the damage down below, because most of the damage is where the second bomb went through, or missile, whatever, air to ground, went through that first hole, and it exploded underground. So we have no idea. The people who are trying to, nothing happened.
You got 1 million pounds of dirt fell into it. So you're not going to see it.
No, you're not going to see it.
But here's the other thing. You just lost your top, 10 nuclear scientists. You're cleaning out their apartment, all of that. There's going to be top secret information. First thing you're going to want to do is get all that data, all the computer laptops, every CD disk, whatever, and get it to a safe place. To me, that's a plausible scenario for why trucks may be bringing things in prior to the bombing.
I doubt they were bringing anything in because they knew that we were coming. It was just a question of when are we coming.
What do you do with all the computers, the disks, all the data that these scientists have at their homes or at other offices they work?
Yeah, but I wouldn't bring it to a facility that's about to be destroyed. I would take it somewhere else.
What is safer?
What is safer?
What's safer than that place? I mean, to me, that was the thing they had the most confidence in.
Well, if that's the case, then I go with your reasoning. But I don't think, if it was me and we've been saying we're going to destroy your nuclear facility, I'm not going to take everything that's needed to run that facility and put it into the facility. I'm going to find another place, It'd be like somebody saying we're going to come rob Fort Knox. I'm not going to take more gold and put it into Fort Knox.
I am.
I take it out. But so that's just how I'm
Here's the thing. The paranoia is so deep, so thick right now.
With the media?
No, I'm talking about amongst the Iranians because of how penetrated they were by the Mossad, the secret agents.
The only thing that bothers me is you have thousands of Iranians that would give anything to be delivered from the Ayatollahs.
Right now, what they've been doing is rounding up members of Jewish synagogues, because they do allow Judaism
Right,
there.
I know.
But they are now arresting them, calling them Mossad abettors. And
Right. But I'll be honest with you, I seriously doubt that the spies that Israel had in Iran were Jewish. I mean, just think about it. The smartest thing you can do would be to get Muslims or people that want to be free, that have the access, that can be able to do it.
Yeah.
Because the first thing you're going to think about, all those Jews did this. But it's much more rational to think that they would pick somebody else who is beyond suspicion. And I would think they would have been watching the Jews in Iran anyway. So, that's why let's just put it this way, that's not the way I would do it. I'm not going to use people that are friendly to me or overtly friendly to me to do undercover work. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to find somebody that, suspect at all.
Yeah. As much as what the United States did with their bunker busters, the more significant damage to the nuclear threat was Mossad taking out killing
the scientists.
Right. Because if you've got all the scientists you need, then you can start right over again.
Right.
Okay. Then it is just a setback. But if you don't have the scientists, and keep in mind, these are scientists that have been fully vetted very carefully, and they built relationships. Now, they had lost some of them because of, about a year and a half ago, there was a nuclear accident in one of these facilities that some people think was Mossad sabotage, and it killed a bunch of technicians and scientists. Yeah. So that's the kind of thing that creates a setback. But if you're Israeli, if you're an American, you have to know vigilance is an eternal requirement.
Yeah. What bothers me about our media is that instead of focusing on what we know happened, they're focusing on what they would like to have happened. In other words, and which is crazy enough that they are actually pulling for the Iranians.
Yeah.
The hatred for Trump, it is totally TDS, Trump derangement system, syndrome. Sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think I got up too early. I went to another meeting before we started today. But anyway, Trump derangement syndrome is it's not only prevalent, but it's metastasized. I mean, it's to the point where these people are insane. They are crazy with their hatred for Donald Trump. Anything that would sound good that Donald Trump could do, we're going to bury it. No, we're not going to see that. It didn't happen. Anything that they can bend to his detriment, they're going to champion that. And we don't care if we destroy our own country. We don't care if it's anti-American, if it's anti-whatever. We don't care. We got to get rid of that man because he is messing with what? And this is the thing. It's at the heart of it.
Mm-hmm.
Homosexuality. Homosexuality. That they are so... the gay lesbian lobby.
Okay, I could see that, but I think it's a lot bigger than that.
Well, no, but see, that right now is what is controlling the mentality in America. I have some neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
They have a daughter who's a lesbian. And we're having a hard time. They won't even speak to us anymore.
Yeah,
because we're Trump. They know we're Trump.
Yeah, I know.
Republicans, and they now have basically think that we've been friends. We've been friendly. We don't have any problem. That's your family. That's your deal. Great. We hope you're happy. They're happy. But but it's like
they believe a lie.
Exactly. And it's gotten so, and that's what I believe, because think of all the people, especially in the news media today, that either are gay or have a relative or friends that are gay.
Yeah.
So you're constantly faced with this, and that drives the whole, a story we can get to a little bit later, the WNBA.
Okay.
And the hatred for...
but I want to stay with your central premise here.
Okay.
See, I think that's more a manifestation. They are stoking up people who have passionate causes, for instance, the homosexuals. They really are not just stoking, but developing this another one, the transgender, which is different than that. Then you've also got, they used to love to stoke up the radical feminists. Now they sold out the feminists, right? But it's the globalists looking for ways to manipulate parts of the population. But in the end, they will sell them out too.
Oh, yeah, sure. Obvious.
It's about power.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, but everything that overarches anything you're seeing out there, it comes back to that. Scott Bassett, okay, he's the Secretary of Treasury. Okay, what's the guy's name?
Rich Grinnell.
Rich Grinnell. They're gay.
Yeah.
Okay. Trump has them. These are powerful people.
It's their business.
Right. But what I'm saying is these are powerful people in the Trump administration, but Trump hates homosexuals. He hates gays.
According to the narrative.
Right, the narrative. And so they have stoked all of this.
Yeah.
And so these people that are all upset is because Trump wants to, he's going to, he's basically the representative of anything anti-gay.
Right.
And so, but that's the big thing. And they don't even care. This is the thing, Dave, which is weird. They are losing the Black and Hispanic vote just willy-nilly. I mean, it's just going out the window because they want to go after this group as these are our guys. And it's like watching TV. How many anti-cancer commercials do you see?
Oh my God. Oh, geez, the pharmaceuticals.
No, but anti-cancer. I mean, specifically cancer. What I'm getting at is this: relative to all of a sudden, I can't watch a show without seeing AIDS medicines advertised and gay people. And this is on even on Fox and
I can see it on Fox, but I don't think I've seen it on Newsmax.
I'm not sure, but any movie I watch, any TV shows we watch, a series or whatever, you've got these, gay people living life, enjoying life with HIV. They're HIV positive, but now we've got a drug that can, hide it or cover it up or do whatever you want with it, And so this has become just a problem, I think, in America. In scripturally, if you think about it, just always think of the prophecy as it was in the day of Sodom, right? As it was in Sodom and Gomorrah. We're at that point. We're at that point where destruction is near. I hate to put it any other way. I hate it. I don't want to think about it, but we're at the point, and what gets me is, why are people so bent on pushing this? I mean, it just baffles my mind. I don't understand it, how and why people, unless this is the ultimate expression of rebellion. The only thing I can think, the ultimate expression of rebellion.
Yeah, there's the people who buy the narrative, who get sucked up, like your neighbors in that, they live within this cocoon of that's all they ever hear. So they believe it, right? Like your typical MSNBC or CNN viewer, they're going to believe the world's very different than if you're watching Newsmax.
Right.
And but what I've seen with the Democrat Party leadership, I've seen them sell out one constituency after another.
Yeah.
They've sold out the factory worker, largely sold out the union people, unless you're a government worker union.
Right.
But the manufacturing sector sold them out. Clinton did that. And the thing is, it takes decades for us to catch up with the fact that we've just been abandoned. And Trump brilliantly invited the Teamsters president to speak at the convention. He got different people. I mean, he literally gets some of the best thinkers, the best minds with the best discretion to be his advisors. Two of them make no secret about that they're homosexual.
Right, exactly.
But you know what? They don't make that my business.
Right.
So I respect they have a right to their own lives, just like I want respect with my life.
I'd say 80% of Trump supporters don't even know these guys are gay.
And J.D. Vance wisely told Joe Rogan just before the election, he says, the person that 20 years ago just wanted to be left alone, he wasn't like you and me, he's homosexual, and just wants us to let him live a life. He said that homosexual is a Trump supporter.
Right. That is true.
This other bunch is the in your face kind. They're believing a lie, and everybody's, they changed the narrative to all of a sudden, we went from sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me to words are violence. Right. And because you're saying something that, hurts me, you're a bully, and now I can come after you violently because of you just stating your deeply held religious convictions. So everything's changing. The Democrat Party is being occupied by this radical woke bunch, and the whole woke thing is in itself a kind of brainwashing.
Oh, sure it is. It's a total brainwash.
Yeah.
And they don't even see that they are just marching towards destruction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, destroying our nation, and foreign enemies look at it and say, this is great. Let's keep going down that road, I just don't understand it. I'm trying to figure out when and how. I mean, the only thing I can think of is to go back to the Clintons.
Yeah.
But what's weird is if you look at Clinton today, the Clintons, Bill's two terms, it wasn't that bad compared to where we are today. Right. In fact, one of the things that's been reported on a lot in conservative circles and on our newscasts and so forth is how Bill Clinton spoke very directly against illegal immigration. And deporting illegal immigrants. Same with Obama, even. But nobody wants you to remember that, right? Yeah,
it went on the record as opposing gay marriage. Even Obama, he said civil unions, yes.
Right.
But and then all of a sudden it changed, and nobody wants to be reminded that Obama was just as much opposition as G.W. Bush.
Right. And so the question is, why all of a sudden have things turned to the point where it's so aggressively, it's not enough anymore for us to be accepted. We have to be pushed to the forefront.
No, you said the magic words there. It's not enough. I have a cousin who is the legislative director for a U.S. Congress in Minnesota, very liberal. And I said, okay, how much will be, it was about spending on some social program. How much is enough? He said, just a little bit more. It's always just a little bit more. Their position is about pushing the envelope. What was their goal 10 years ago isn't enough anymore. And it's the constant changing thing. And this is also about the kinds of issues, because they don't want to fix problems. They want issues to get elected on.
Right. And the problem is there's suicidal issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if we go down that road, it will lead us to destruction, because China is not going to let homosexuality run their country. Russia is not going to let homosexuality run their country.
Nor will a Muslim country.
Or, yeah, that's another third of the world. Okay.
Yeah, they don't tell the people that. This is
well, right. But so let me ask you that, whether they tell them or not. My question is, how do you get people like Chuck Schumer and his ilk there in Congress? Even on the Republican side, there's some that feel that we've got to push this stuff. We got to push this stuff.
Well, yeah, but see, they don't.
Do they not see? They don't believe.
No, they don't believe it. They believe in power. They will use whatever lever, whatever issue gets them power.
So it won't reach us because we're at this higher level.
Yeah, they'll get their power. Remember,
well, that's what they think.
Remember, they're for gun control because they have their own security. You know, they don't have to live under, or at least they don't believe they'll have to live under the things they advocate. And but the people, and here's the key to it: keep them from thinking, encourage them feeling. It's an emotions-based effort, and they want fear is one of the most powerful things politically. Fear is very powerful.
Oh yeah, sure it is. Sure
and if you're just like your neighbor's been listening to all kinds of crap, telling them to not just fear Trump, but anybody who buys his stuff. You know, so that's the thing. They have believed a lie. To quote an old Willie George and Ken Copeland Christian movie, Gunslinger. Ken Copeland comes to town. He says, these people believed a lie and they died for it after a shootout where most of the men in the town got killed. If you believe a lie, it can kill you. You don't want to believe a lie. So he's critical thinking, honest questions. Ask him the questions that, I mean, like we had Bridenstine in here just last hour. And, you know, I said, look, there's just one thing I don't understand. I want to believe what you say about men going to the moon and this. And he explained it in a very rational, reasonable way. You got to confront the things that are uncomfortable, the things that you don't have an answer for, instead of just presuming.
Yeah.
You know, people live in their echo chambers and groupthink. That's a worse thing is groupthink. You know?
Yeah.
How many times have you reshared something on social media that made sense and then somebody said, you know, that's not really true? And you felt stupid because you shared it.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, that's your phone. You actually are connected to Bluetooth. Turn this thing down.
No, but it's not on. The green light's not on.
Okay. Somehow it's here in my headphones.
What, the buzzing?
A beep.
Oh, that is weird.
Maybe I wasn't. Well, anyway. So yeah, it's a crazy thing.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, it's totally nuts.
But here's the other thing, and this follows that same template, but it's in the financial sector. CNN wanted to believe that, oh, you know, they're going to come right back and they're going to be a problem. And I hear like they interviewed one guy, a Democrat congressman. He says, they're going to now take this nuclear program and go underground. Like, yeah, I know. We just bombed their most underground facility. You know, it's like, how stupid can you be?
They're going to take it underground. Sounds like something Hank Johnson would say.
Yeah. So they don't want to believe that Trump could actually be successful. Let's take it to Jerome Powell in the Fed.
Oh, man.
Jerome Powell, his job is to respond to shifts in the market. Right. He's no longer following that. He's now believing his own unsubstantiated belief that tariffs are going to create massive inflation. And so instead of responding when it comes, he's now implementing ahead of time. And it's costing the taxpayer close to $1 trillion
Yeah.
in increased servicing on our debt.
And we are, and the crazy thing is, we are making money hand over fist on the tariffs. We are making more than we're losing.
Right, but he's afraid you'll make too much and it'll spur on inflation.
Right. Well, I don't care about inflation as long as we're able to pay our debt down.
Well, no, I mean, inflation, we've been through this. Inflation is a bad thing, right?
Oh, no.
If it happens.
I understand. Right. But inflation can only go for so long until the prosperity catches up to it.
Right. But what I'm saying here is Jerome Powell is, too far over his skis. His job is to respond to changes, not thinks he knows better than the market.
Well, I don't even, honestly, I'll be honest with you. I don't even think he really knows or thinks that. I think he is one of those people, again, in the anti-Trump, never Trump.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter what, that's what I'm saying about the whole situation that we're talking about, that these people would rather see America destroyed than Trump be successful. I mean, that's how bad. I mean, seriously,
they actually believe that Trump is going to run the country in the ground. And so if Trump's going this way, then therefore it's the wrong thing. So follow me. And the problem is currently, how many young people can't afford a home? How many young people are paying way too much rent because of, the supply and demand's affecting things? How many people are missing that job promotion and the new job because they can't sell their old house in this town so they can move to that town and take the new job?
I don't think they're afraid of him running into the ground. They're actually afraid of him being successful.
Yes, but that's not what they're telling themselves.
Well, right.
They're lying to themselves.
Well, right. They're being told that lie.
And I think underneath it all, at the top level, it's just oppose Trump at any cost, by any means.
Exactly.
And we just saw the Supreme Court yesterday take away one of the big things is the ability of a local judge like the ones here in Tulsa to be able to stop a Trump policy position nationwide or globally.
Right, on immigration.
Yeah, just by, putting a moratorium, putting a hold on it.
Right.
And the Supreme Court saying none of us here in the Supreme Court individually have that authority.
Right.
You're not going to have that authority. You can intervene on behalf of the plaintiff or defendant that comes to your courtroom. But doing this blanket stuff, no, you don't
have the power.
Huge victory.
Right. Oh, yeah. And it's funny. I mean, I'll tell you what's really interesting is you saw where Amy Coney Barrett attacked, what's her name, Brown.
Yeah. Could you explain that? Because I'm not getting a really good, concise source of it. Could you wrap it up?
Yeah. Justice Brown. I can't think of her full name right now.
Ketanji Brown.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
Yeah. She's a hyphenated. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, she's the one who could not define what a woman is.
Right.
Remember, she went in the hearings. But anyway, she's one of basically all three of the Democrat appointed justices voted against Trump's lawyers. Basically, let's back up. Trump's lawyers basically have a case that says district judges cannot make national rulings. That's the basic gist of what's happened.
More precisely, a temporary hold on a president's.
Well, on anything. I mean, they would like to, because that's just the camel's nose under the tent. Because if they have the authority to do that, they have the authority to undermine any national.
Right. But specifically what was happening was the vehicle of a hold while we litigate.
Yeah.
I'll give you what you want even before I hear the case.
Okay. Who are we talking about now?
Any of these cases, this is the legal guideline. And it's under the guise of irreparable harm will happen if we don't intervene and stop this practice until we can establish that it's allowable.
Well, right. But what they're doing it so much in so many areas that it's basically throwing a wrench into immigration policy, period. So the Supreme Court now has said you don't have the authority in a district court to adjudicate national policy.
Right. It's only for your specific plaintiff that you're their representative being represented.
Exactly. So, but that's what they were doing. They were doing the federal, trying to do the national policy, and they have cases everywhere. The ACLU and every anti-Christian liberties union and all the rest of them are trying to do whatever they can to stifle Trump's policies, and in this case, immigration. Okay, so Ketanji Brown basically, in her opinion, wrote that this is wrong, and I didn't read the opinion, so I don't know how exactly. But basically, she, Kagan, and what's the other, Sotomayor, all three voted to stop Trump from doing this and support these district courts. And the rest of the justices, 6 out of the 9, said, the district courts don't have the jurisdiction and so forth.
Yeah.
And so Amy Coney Barrett basically just slammed Miss Ketanji Brown, or Mrs. Ketanji Brown, whatever she wants to be called. She just basically cut her down, saying that her reasoning essentially is totally without basis. So
Ketanji Brown wrote the minority opinion, right? Okay. And so what you specifically, to be real accurate, was she's going after that argument. Yeah. How do you not take it personally? Yes. It's like,
you're talking about how does Ketanji Brown not take it personally, what Amy Coney Barrett did?
Yeah, right. I mean, saying it wasn't.
Well, it was personal. I mean,
well, yes. I mean, to be honest, it's that argument is crap, is basically what she was trying to say.
Yeah.
But she didn't say you're an idiot and you're ugly too. It was not that personal. It was that argument is full of crap.
Right. But in the end, it comes out as the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually, stupid is as stupid does.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And, here's the other thing. Kagan, just 3 years ago, when a judge who some people think was really conservative was stopping or putting a hold on a Biden policy. And she says, you can't do that. I mean, here she is. To me, Kagan should not even have shouldn't be able to vote on this. She should have recused because she already stated her opinion. Mm-hmm. And then she votes opposite because it's a different guy in the White House.
Yeah, but you can't really do that, because if you do that, then you could keep Justice Thomas and others from, because
this happened when they were actually being confirmed at their hearings.
No,
there are things they could not. Says that may come before me, so I choose not to respond.
Right, but what I'm saying about Clarence Thomas, everybody knows his opinion, his position, et cetera, et cetera. That's why they're trying to get rid of him. They're trying to use almost the same argument.
Right, but these justices are being smart and very cagey in how they respond, because they can be accused of demonstrating a prejudice before they hear the case. And clearly Kagan did. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She spoke on principle, saying one local judge should not be able to stop a presidential order. Yeah. She said that 3 years ago.
Right, exactly, which shows what a hypocrite she is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now keep in mind, we're talking about the two most lucid. When you get to the third one, Sotomayor. I'm sorry. You thought some of these other judges had lost it, like what's her name? That just died. Ginsburg.
Ginsburg, yeah. Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah, she wanted to hang on, and she's just way past her prime.
Yeah, we've got basically 2.5 years to see if she hangs up, because remember last year the Democrats were trying to get her to step down from the court because they saw what was, and they were afraid she could die or be just senile or whatever. And then Trump gets to nominate yet another. Then it'd be 7-2 versus 6-3 right now. So.
Yeah, but Ginsburg had already gone through 2 different cancers treatment, and stuff. And
but this is different. Sotomayor apparently is losing it mentally. Yeah.
So is Joe.
That doesn't stop a Democrat, does it?
You see, trying to convince somebody. Listen, I've got some experience dealing with people who lost it up here. What I'm talking about is, an intervention for somebody with a mental illness and psychosis. But you know what? Dementia is a distinction without a difference in many ways. Yeah. And trying to convince somebody you need help, and they're the last to know they need help. So
wouldn't that be wonderful though, if they were able to get Trump were able to nominate yet another one.
Oh, I remember when Ginsburg died, I saw this Facebook video. This woman, she's just losing it. You had one job. You couldn't live 6 more months. Just like, it's just.
You had one job.
Because that's what led to the Amy Coney Barrett, which led to the Dobbs decision, getting rid of Roe versus Wade. It was, she kicked the bucket 6 months too soon.
Yeah.
So it's
oh man,
that's what happens.
Politics is awful, really. It's awful. It wasn't. Yeah. So anyway, I guess we can wrap it up here today.
Well, I've got some sports.
I was getting ahead to sports, but go ahead.
Yeah,
it might be the same thing.
I tell you what, you and I have talked about all this. The NCFL, we've talked about the pay for play. I mean, we basically have no salary caps and total free agency,
right.
But we talk about the super conferences. And where we left it, when about year and a half ago, we started talking about this realignment and how the Big 12 came out shining. ACC somehow sucked it up and kept it together. We really thought they were the ones. Well, the Pac-12, we left for dead. Well, the Pac-12 went shopping. And now it's the
two teams.
Yeah. Now, they waited it out because if they keep the conference doors open for a certain amount of time, they get all the money that these other people that left get. So now that that's done, the Mountain West, I said, that's going to be the next one that they're just going to pick away. And I found out 5 schools are joining the pack, 4 of them from the Mountain West. So San Diego State, who definitely should have been in the pack. I mean, they're the ones that brought us Marshall Faulk 20 years ago. They're just fantastic. So you got them. Fresno State, reasonable. Utah State went there. Okay. Colorado State, who's really started to play some pretty good ball. So those have come on. Then they took your old stomping grounds, UTEP, out of Conference USA, straight from Conference USA to the Pac-12. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So now what's going to happen to Mountain West? And remember, they split off from the Western Athletic Conference, the WAC, right? And the WAC is really bothering.
Question, what conference is Boise State in?
Oh, yeah, that's one that came over.
Okay, that's what I was going to say, because they should have been the first one.
Well, a lot of people thought that the Big 12 should have taken them, and there's a good argument for that.
Yeah, you're right.
But anyway, the Pac-12 has got that going on. Now the WAC, or not, the Mountain West, they're starting to grab some, and I think my brother-in-law's alma mater, he's a big booster for South Dakota State.
See, that's what I've been wondering. Why is South Dakota State, North Dakota State, and I think it's South Dakota is the other one. I think South Dakota, both, they have 2 teams that are always in there.
Really, North Dakota State, which who's that the Red A quarterback for Philly a few years ago? Weiss or what?
Oh yeah, he's the backup to Mahomes now.
Right.
I forget.
Yeah, he came out of North Dakota State.
Okay, right.
But in South Dakota State, which won like 3 years in a row, won that Division II. That's the next lower division.
Yeah.
But so you got people like that coming over, and now they're looking for some football only schools. What I didn't mention though is here's the 8th school. The Pac needed 8 schools, the Pac-12, in order to get in the playoff.
To get to 10, yeah, they had to have 10.
They picked this upstart from San Marcos, Texas State.
Oh, okay.
So that's going to be the 8th school.
What's the one in it's UT San Antonio. Yeah, but Texas State, the one to me to watch is
North Texas.
UTSA.
Yeah, San Antonio, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that really, I think. Do you know how many students UTSA has?
I heard it's a massive amount.
70,000.
Yeah, man.
Nobody's ever. Now, of course, a lot of them are home based because it's in San Antonio, and they, but still 70,000. Texas Tech has 40,000.
Yeah.
And Texas has 80-some thousand.
Yeah.
But 70,000 in San Antonio.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. So they definitely, hear me now, believe me later, but within the next probably 5 years, they will be up in D1 into the big leagues.
Yeah, no doubt. And really, because Texas is such a good football market for TV, it's good for recruiting. More name, recruiting, because that's where that in California and Florida. Those are the 3 schools, and then Ohio.
Well, the population too in San Antonio. San Antonio, I think, has like 9 million people.
You got that whole corridor from Austin to San Antonio.
Yeah.
It's
that's
like
why you
one
can't
town after another.
You can't. There aren't enough lanes on the road. It's just bumper to bumper all the way to Austin and Waco, Austin. It lightens up a little bit when you get south of Austin, but it's a nightmare trying to drive that drive.
Yeah. So this is, some amazing things happening now. It won't affect this next school year. It'll be the year after that you'll see that alignment. And I don't know what's going to happen. ACC somehow seems to find a way to hold things together. We thought a year ago Florida State was gone.
Yeah.
And but what happened
you
here?
Got Florida State and Miami. Those are the 2.
And I don't know why Clemson in North Carolina.
Yeah, so there's 4 schools right there that could be. Now, here's what could happen. I would love to see it. Have those 4 join the Big 12 to make it the Big 16. Because the SEC are they 16 or 18? SEC is like, and in the Big 10, they both have at least 16 teams.
Wait a minute. We've got 16 right now
in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah, I know things happen fast.
Yeah.
But the SEC, aren't they close to 20? And same with the Big 10, getting close.
I know it's a lot. Do they have 18 then?
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe it's 18. So we've got room for a couple more. And but I think that the Florida teams would do well to come to the Big 12.
And that was the reason, remember, my long shot prophecy that came out exactly spot on. I said the Big 12 needs these 4 schools. The one that everybody scratched their head on was when I said University of Central Florida. Having a Florida school is so helpful for recruiting.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people think, why? But every coach knows why.
Right. See, the thing that helped the Big 12, and this year they didn't do so well, but it is basketball.
Yeah.
Basketball is the thing that really helps the Big 12.
And, I have to say, top to bottom, it's still the best conference. Houston really did us well.
Oh, yeah.
And what I'm sad about Houston as a new member is their football kind of fell apart. They were really good right before they came to us. And then Cincinnati, same thing. The Bearcat football was awesome.
You're right.
But you're going to have that.
Yeah. No, they can rebuild, come back, and they should with a new power conference. So, yeah.
But it's one of the reasons why Ohio State's always a good football team. It's a big sport, not just in Ohio, but Western Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh area, a lot. Joe Montana came from Western Pennsylvania, So anyway, that was the one sports I thought, we never did talk about this. And we knew it was coming, but now we're seeing it. So you got a revitalized pack.
Yep. I was actually going to talk about the WNBA and Caitlin Clark.
Yes. There's that. Oh, by the way, just a real quick, the Thunder.
Yeah, I don't know how we didn't. Yeah. I was thinking, was that the week before this week?
No, it was Sunday.
It was the Thunder. They first time national champions. That's just wonderful.
They set all kinds of records. Evidently, it was the best win-loss record of any team in the NBA.
And what's interesting, what it shows though, what's really the cool thing about it is that no superstars. You didn't have a Kevin Durant. You didn't have a Michael Jordan. You didn't have a Kareem.
Right. 13, 14 years ago when they were in the finals.
Right.
And against LeBron and that. Okay, we already knew that Durant was good.
Right.
But Harden
and Westbrook,
they were still up and coming. I mean, they said about them, this is a young team. They literally rebuilt. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened here. Just 2 years ago, Thunder were one of the worst teams.
Yeah. Now, what's weird is we say we don't have any superstars or name guys, but what's the main guy? He ended up being the MVP of the whole NBA. Mm-hmm. But he's got the two names.
Alexander, something or other.
Or something Alexander.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So, but it's just so nice how humble they all are. And they're a team. They are.
That's it.
They like each other. They're that's the problem. In LA, I don't think could ever win because there's too many personalities, and too many superstars, and it's just they don't play well together. So, but no, I was worried. I have to confess, I was a little worried there.
Well,
and I wonder if that guy hadn't torn his
Halliburton.
Yeah, Halliburton.
Boy, did that look nasty. I knew enough when I saw all of a sudden that distended ankle and when the heel goes down to the floor. Oh my God, that's an Achilles total rip.
Yeah. It's bad, but and so you feel bad for him, but at the same time, you have to wonder, and I'm sure Indiana's thinking it, would we have won with him there? And Halliburton remained.
Well, they ran out of gas, right? I mean, they were leading at halftime.
Yeah.
They all sucked it up.
But he went down the third quarter there.
No, if it was middle of the first.
Oh, was it in the middle of the first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I thought, because when I saw that, I told my wife, I said, look at that ankle. I said, he just totally ripped his Achilles. Mm-hmm. I said, it's over. And then at halftime, I thought it was over. Over. But then that third quarter, that's where they really poured it on. And, the depth of the team. There's people not used to playing, 20, minutes. They're used to coming in to give Halliburton a little breather and then Halliburton go back in.
Yeah.
And anybody can, pour everything they got into it for about 3 or 4 minutes on the court. But
see, that's another thing. I mean, you look at the two teams, both teams. Mm-hmm. You had Indiana and you had Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. Before this playoffs, had you ever heard of Halliburton?
They're an oil company down in Oklahoma.
Thank you. Had you in the NBA?
Right.
Had you ever heard of?
No,
me either. And so and then we end up having the MVP. I didn't know anything about this guy.
Right.
So it just shows. But all you hear all the time is what? LeBron.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, and then you have the Eastern Europeans, the Russian
Right.
guy, and
what you're seeing is the big market, big franchises. I mean, Boston did okay, but New York teams, they're trying to sell the Lakers right now, hoping to get $8 billion for them. Lakers was always that, marquee team,
right.
and I just think you've got a collapse. And I would expect that the viewership is down because you don't have good teams in the big markets.
Yeah. And that's because they keep paying these names, these marquee names. And that's kind of over. People, I think, are burned out with that.
Mm-hmm.
We're ready to get back to a collective team thing. That's why Indiana, the girls, the Fever, does so well. Caitlin Clark drew it to it, but there's a team mentality.
Mm-hmm.
The people are bought into the Fever, not into Caitlin Clark necessarily.
Yeah, especially with this new gal come on that's really, I mean, she's
Kelsey.
She's photogenic. She's good.
Oh, no, you're talking about Lindsay. I think it's Lindsay something.
Yeah.
Or something Lindsay.
Yeah, really tall blonde. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, she's the sixth man. She's not even a starter.
Yeah.
Well, it made her popular. Why she's come on. Because in that game where the girl attacked Caitlin, she took her and threw her off the court.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were getting ready to get into it. It was good to see. But I honestly still think Caitlin Clark should have gone to Europe. She had an opportunity to go last year, $100 million. They were going to pay her to play in one of them foreign countries. And because the WNBA, it's becoming more and more clear. People are starting to write about it. What's his name that works for the Blaze, the black guy? He used to be on Fox Sports. I can't think of his name right now. Anyway, he just did a whole piece on it, and they just do not respect. It's full of lesbians. I don't know if you mentioned this earlier, and they hate Caitlin Clark because of what she stands for.
Really? Nobody really told me what she stands for that I'm supposed to be so offended by. Because she has stayed as non-political as she can.
Oh, no, she has, but she has a boyfriend. And
how dare that? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal.
The hussy.
Yeah. Well, the girl who's a friend of hers, actually, they're friends, but that went to
Dallas. Right. The former UConn player.
Yeah, the UConn. Yeah. So, I mean, they're just pumping her and plugging her, and they're just praising her, the media, all the time now. And it's because, and she's just come out, it's been revealed she has a girlfriend. So these are the things that we have to deal with. This is the thing that America is faced with today. That, again, I get back to our earlier conversation, that the gay nation, and here's what's sad. Here's what's really sad. You have people like the two guys we know of in the Trump administration, but there are many, many, many more that they just want to, whether we agree with it or not, they just want to live their lives.
They want to do your job, do it well, and they do.
Right. They do. And just, don't worry about our, sexual preference or whatever. Okay.
Don't make it my business.
Don't make it my business. Exactly. But it's not enough. And the WNBA, these girls came in, same with soccer, girls soccer. Finally, they got rid of Rapinoe. And because she literally, I think, set back the WSL, because she was so, she was forcing girls, the heterosexual Christian girls and heterosexual girls that were coming in, driving them away.
Sure.
And so, and talented girls. And so, and if I'm a parent, and I'm not going to want my daughter to go play with her, and that deal. And so it's just one of these deals where I think Caitlin Clark I think she'd be happier in Europe, to be honest with you. She could make a whole lot more money, no hassle, whatever. But she chose, she's faithful to her country and the league. And so, but somehow the league is going to have to come to grips with this, or it's going to be destroyed again.
What really happened, I mean, longtime customers, my business, a family, pretty wealthy family, their daughter, full scholarship, play soccer for Missouri many years ago. And the hazing, the lesbian hazing is horrible.
Oh, I believe it.
And she literally, her soccer career was ended in a scrimmage within her own squad. They literally took her knee out, ripped it to shreds at practice.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Scrimmage, you know, and it's just, you talk about propensity for violence. Oh, yeah. I mean, what you're seeing in the WNBA is a side of very violent women.
Right. Yeah. But that's the thing about the Fever now, that they have these, 2 strikes against them. You have heterosexual white women. Yeah. 2 of them are blondes. That's another thing. So, and they can't stand that these 3 are dominating the media.
Yeah.
You know, because they're winning. And what's interesting, actually the best player on the team right now is this, it's a black girl, Kelsey something is her name. But anyway, she's scoring, you know, like 25 points a game or something. She's really good. I mean, she can shoot like crazy, you know. And in fact, they just beat the Dallas team the other night. They won another one, but without Caitlin Clark, because she's been out. She's got an injury. And you can tell, and like the other night, she hit 1 out of 12 3-point shots, you know, 1 out of 12. So that's not her. That's something not right with her. So she needs to just sit out, rest up, and yeah, I don't know. It's sad that sports has come down to that. You know, bottom line, shut up and play the game. I mean, that's all you got to do.
Just it, Eddie.
Shut up and play the game.
I'm just, you know, I get so sick of it. I will watch, you know, whether it's the Super Bowl, and then they got to put this, you know, the Black national anthem.
Right.
You know, it's just, I almost want to just boycott the sport altogether.
In football, it's race. In female sports, it's the sexual orientation. And it's, you know, whatever you are in football, if you're white, you feel like a second-class citizen. In women's professional basketball, if you're straight, you're a second-class citizen. My problem more often is with the commentators in the play-by-play than the athletes. But you know who I think is doing this well is Stephen A. Smith. Yeah. You know, it's clear he's entered the realm of politics, but when he's analyzing, like we were watching the pregame and postgame last Sunday night championship, you know, we're here to talk about the game of basketball, period. And he did that. I mean, I'm just sick. I used to like Bob Costas until he decided that he had the right to be political. Yeah. Like, I'm done with you. Yeah. You know? He killed himself. Yeah, he killed himself. Yeah. So it's just sad. You know, what was it? Humphrey Bogart said, all a performer owes his public is a good performance, you know, and you just do your job. Right. You know, I mean, you go to concerts anymore because pop culture music is big time about having some cause. You know, I remember the only time I was in the arena over there at Oklahoma City was actually for a Coldplay concert. My son had tickets to it and that. And they, to their credit, they were basically doing what you're doing. They were finding ways for third world countries and farmers and stuff to find easier ways to get their product directly to consumers. And they're doing whatever they could on that. And like, okay, that's helping the little guy. That's good. But it was a cultural and a social issue without bashing this politician or that politician. Yeah.
But I mean, how many times do we have to suffer Taylor Swift? Well, she lost me a long time ago. I almost want to turn off the Kansas City Chiefs because of her.
Yeah, I think she's hurt them. I think she's actually hurt them.
Yeah, it was just, this is just sad.
Yeah, we better wrap it up. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the Jim Bridenstine. That was impromptu. I had breakfast with Jim and a couple other guys. We meet every couple of weeks or so.
Yeah.
And he's been wanting to come on, and we've always had other guests and on. So I called Dave to see if we didn't have anybody today. So
yeah,
I said, Jim, you want to come with me? He said, yeah.
By the way, I'm wearing this. This is actually an argument on Eddie's side of the issue of convention estates, because he largely agrees with some of my John Birch Society friends of what makes you think they'll listen to and obey the words of a new constitution if they're ignoring the words of the last one.
Yeah, but my thing is more that if we can change the Constitution, or think we can, to benefit our side, what's to keep George Soros and the others that have more money and more ambition from eliminating the First and Second Amendment?
Yeah.
Basically, that's the problem.
So you can't see the message at the bottom. It says the Constitution doesn't need to be rewritten. It needs to be reread. So
that is good.
Yeah, I figured you'd appreciate
and refollowed.
Yes. But we're celebrating Independence Day this coming weekend.
Oh yeah, man. It's already here, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. But next Saturday is actually the day after the 5th. And I've got a fellow that wants to come in. And he actually, I was hoping to have him in today, but he had logistic issues. But he's somebody I've cited. Believe it or not, he's been living largely a life of a homeless transient, both here and out in California,
A bum from California. No, I'm just messing with you.
But he will very much surprise you because he's quite an enigma and a very good communicator.
Well, it'll be good because I want to talk to him because, my opinion, I'm not pro-homeless.
Right.
And so.
But he actually explains a lot of things. Like you and I are upset when you see like downtown LA people crapping in the street. Right. And we blame that on the homeless. And yeah, I'm sure that's right. But I was in Manhattan a couple summers ago. And I just took the subway up to Central Park, and I'm walking around by Trump Towers because he's just a few blocks off. And I'm like, God, I got to use the bathroom. And I don't mean I need a bush to crawl behind, and water a bush. I mean, I need to sit down.
Right.
And I couldn't find any place that had a public bathroom in downtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
And like, no wonder. If you don't have public bathrooms, don't be surprised if people just can't hold it anymore.
Yeah.
So, these are the kinds of things that I think he can give us a better perspective on.
Yeah. No, I know that whole deal. I had that experience in Venice and Venice, Italy. There's no place to sit down on the whole, no place with chairs outdoor, little cafes. Yeah. And then bathrooms now, and so if you better be peed up or whatever you want to say, either that, or maybe that's why the water is contaminated. You're not allowed to, if you're going to, you might just die of poisoning from the water around Venice.
You've done missionary work in Europe. Aren't there big cities where they have pay toilets?
Oh yeah. You got to pay. Yeah. But see, that's the thing too. The reason that restaurants don't open their bathrooms and so forth anymore is because a lot of junkies were going shooting up. Mm-hmm. So what they tried to do then, they put blue light bulbs in there because the veins won't show.
You can't find the vein. Yeah.
You can't find the vein. Mm-hmm. So they tried to use that. That probably what. Because I think guys got little flashlights and, and
Yeah.
ingenuity. It's funny,
Of course.
what's it? Necessity is the, what is it? The mother of invention or whatever.
Yeah.
But so they basically closed down all the public bathrooms.
Yes.
And what does it do? The homeless in the streets, they got to go.
And that's why, Robert
Kennedy.
No, the Crystal Cathedral.
Schuller.
Robert Schuller explained to me back when I was in college studying business. He said, you want to be a success, find a need that's not being met and meet it. That's how you get successful.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted to start a company building public restrooms. There you go. I mean, they're already doing it all over Europe. LA, hello.
Yeah, and then just get the city to pay for it.
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well to keep people from crapping on the roads or the streets and whatever. Just say, city, you pay us so much and we'll set up these private bathrooms public bathrooms for the homeless and whatever. And then at least you keep that off the streets.
You know how the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority did when they built the original sponge, they would have restaurants along the way that had exclusive, right? Because I think it was Howard Johnson's was originally the chain, the one that is McDonald's now. Yeah. But you stop there and the state doesn't have to provide a wayside rest. They had wayside rest, but all they had was picnic tables and trash cans,
right.
But you want a place to use the toilet. So it was a way to shift a cost from taxpayer to a user fee, so anyway, so next week, hopefully we will have him in.
That'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
Then in 2 weeks, we might start live a little bit later, and the second half of our show will be able to sit down with our candidate for Attorney General, the only one in the race right now, John Eccles.
Wow, that would be
so we're going to have a good next couple of weeks. Stay tuned, stay with us, and share this with your friends, especially the Bridenstine segment. That's fantastic today.
Yeah, it sure is. All right. See you next week.
Yeah.